The clinic's fluorescent lights flickered as I finalized the medical charts for the day's patients. Carter strolled in, his nonchalant demeanor belying the bombshell he was about to drop. "Hey, Liv, got a minute?" Carter's grin was inexplicably wide. I nodded, anticipating a typical sibling update, perhaps a mundane account of his workday or a casual invitation to grab dinner. Seated on the worn-out chairs in the break room, Carter hesitated, his gaze fixed on the coffee stains on the linoleum floor. "So, something's happening. Something big." I leaned in, curiosity piqued. "Big? Carter, you're acting mysterious. Spit it out." He took a deep breath, his eyes finally meeting mine. "I'm getting married, Liv, engaged. Rings, vows, the whole shebang." Silence hung in the air, pregnant with disbelief. "Married? You? Carter, you've always been the laid-back type. Marriage seems a bit structured for you." Carter chuckled nervously, scratching the back of his head. "Yeah, I know, right? But Liv, you won't believe who I'm marrying." A foreboding shiver ran down my spine. "Who is it?" "Nicole." The name hit me like a sudden gust of icy wind. Nicole, the face of chaos from my past, the orchestrator of broken relationships. My mind raced through a Rolodex of faces, settling on Margaret and Bobby, whose breakup echoed through the years. "You're marrying Nicole?" I asked, the incredulity evident in my tone. "Yeah, crazy, right?" Carter replied, a hint of uncertainty in his eyes. "She's the daughter of Professor Henderson, our old university supervisor." My stomach churned. Professor Henderson, the connection to my tumultuous university days. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, and I felt a storm of conflicting emotions. Nicole Liv, she's changed, or at least that's what I believe. "We're meeting tonight for dinner. I thought you should know." As Carter's words hung in the air, the room felt smaller, suffocating. I mustered a weak smile, masking the turmoil within. "Dinner, huh? Well, Carter, you've officially turned my quiet evening into a dramatic one." Little did I know that this unexpected news was merely the prelude to a symphony of upheavals that would resonate through the chapters of my life. The dim glow of the restaurant's pendant lights cast a subdued ambience as Carter and I settled into a corner booth. The menus lay untouched, the weight of unspoken tensions hanging in the air. "Carter," I began cautiously, breaking the uneasy silence, "you dropped a bomb on me earlier. Nicole, of all people. Why her?" Carter fiddled with his water glass, avoiding eye contact. "It's complicated, Liv. We reconnected recently, and things just fell into place. She's different now, more mature." "Reconnected?" I raised an eyebrow, skepticism coloring my voice. "You make it sound like you two have a storied history. Why didn't I know about this?" His gaze finally met mine, a hint of guilt flickering in his eyes. "We lost touch after university, but then we bumped into each other a few months ago. It just clicked, you know." The waiter approached, and we ordered mechanically, the weight of unspoken words lingering between us. As our dishes arrived, I prodded further, unable to suppress my curiosity. Nicole being Professor Henderson's daughter adds another layer to this puzzle. "Did you know about that when you reconnected?" Carter sighed, setting down his fork. "I found out later. It was a surprise to both of us. But Liv, you've got to believe me. Nicole's not the same person she was in college. People change." The clanking of cutlery provided a discordant soundtrack to our conversation. "Carter, you know the history, the chaos she caused in the board game club. Margaret and Bobby." His expression darkened and he interrupted. I know. But maybe she's trying to make amends. We all have our pasts, Liv." A heavy silence descended upon the table, punctuated only by distant chatter from other patrons. "I just need you to be careful, Carter," I finally said, concern etching my voice. "This is more than just a family tie. It's a tie to our past, a past filled with broken friendships and heartache." Carter nodded solemnly, a shadow of doubt passing over his features. "I get it, Liv. I'll tread carefully, but give her a chance, okay? People do change." Little did I know that the ties between my brother and Nickel were not only complicated but intricately woven into a tapestry of unforeseen consequences, waiting to unfurl in the chapters that lay ahead. The scent of aged board games lingered in the air as I delved into the recesses of my memory, revisiting the tumultuous days of our board game club. The memories were vivid, each corner of the university clubroom holding echoes of laughter and the subsequent chaos Nickel brought into our lives. The board game club, once a haven for camaraderie, became a battleground when Nickel, with her captivating beauty and sly tactics, joined our ranks. Margaret and I were inseparable, navigating through the maze of university life together until Nicole arrived like a storm, leaving wreckage in her wake. One evening, as we huddled around a game of strategy, Nicole's manipulations began to surface. Bobby, Margaret's boyfriend and a regular club member, fell victim to her cunning schemes. "Liv, have you seen Bobby?" Margaret's eyes searched the room, panic setting in. I glanced around, my gaze landing on the sight that would unravel the fabric of our friendships. There was Bobby, seated beside Nicole, sharing a laugh over a board game I no longer recognized. The confrontation was inevitable. Margaret stormed over, her eyes ablaze with a mix of anger and betrayal. "Bobby, what the hell is going on?" Nicole, unruffled, smirked as if this were a scripted drama. "Oh, Maggie, we were just having some fun." Bobby didn't mention he had a girlfriend. "Fun." Margaret's voice rose, echoing through the room. "This is our board game club, not a playground for your games. Liv, tell me you didn't know about this." I shook my head, equally stunned and infuriated. "Margaret, I swear, I had no idea." Bobby, caught in the crossfire, stammered, "It's not what it looks like. I didn't think we were serious, Maggie." Tensions escalated, and the once harmonious club fractured. Margaret and Bobby's relationship crumbled, sending ripples through the dynamics of our group. In the aftermath, Nicole reveled in the chaos she had orchestrated. "It's just a game, after all," she mused, her laughter echoing through the now divided room. As the flashback faded, the scars of those days felt raw once more. Little did I know that the chaos of our past would resurface, intertwining with the present in unexpected ways. The days leading up to the confirmation of Carter's marriage to Nicole were marked by strained family interactions and palpable tension. Family dinners felt like minefields, each conversation tiptoeing around the elephant in the room. The evening of the official confirmation arrived, bringing with it a gathering of both families for an awkward introduction. The living room buzzed with forced cheerfulness as we sat in a semicircle, like participants in an uncomfortable reality show. My father cleared his throat, attempting to break the ice. "So, Nicole, tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do?" Nicole, poised and seemingly unbothered by the collective scrutiny, replied, "I work in marketing. It's a dynamic field, always keeping me on my toes." Carter, sitting beside her, shot me a quick glance, almost imperceptible. It was a silent plea for understanding, a plea I struggled to answer. My mother, always the peacemaker, attempted to steer the conversation away from treacherous waters. "And how did you and Carter reconnect?" she asked with a forced smile. Nicole's eyes flickered briefly, a well-practiced facade slipping for a moment. "It was a chance meeting at a coffee shop. Serendipity, I suppose." The air hung heavy with unspoken skepticism, but we pressed on, navigating the uneasy terrain of family introductions. Later that night, I found myself alone with Carter in the dimly lit kitchen. The tension from the living room lingered, settling between us like an unwelcome guest. "Carter," I began cautiously, "are you sure about this? Nicole seems different, but our history." He cut me off with a weary sigh. "Liv, I know what you're thinking, but people change, right? She's convinced me that she's turned a new leaf. I want you to be happy for me." The plea in his eyes was impossible to ignore. "Carter, I want to believe you. I just can't shake the memories of what she did to our friends in the board game club." He nodded solemnly, acknowledging the weight of our shared history. I get it, Liv, but give her a chance, for me. As the days passed, the awkward encounters continued. Wedding preparations loomed, and every family gathering became a delicate dance around unspoken reservations. Little did I know that the wedding day would bring both closure and a resurgence of the chaos that had haunted our past. The sun cast a warm glow over the picturesque chapel, a stark contrast to the unease that settled in my stomach. It was the day of Carter and Nichols' wedding, a day that felt both inevitable and surreal. As I stood among the assembled guests, I couldn't shake the disquiet that clung to the air. Carter, dressed in a crisp suit, exchanged nervous glances with me as we waited for the ceremony to begin. The ivory flowers and soft melodies seemed incongruent with the memories of our past. Nicole, radiant in her wedding gown, appeared blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within me. The ceremony unfolded with a rehearsed grace, but my gaze kept drifting to Nicole. The echoes of our shared history danced in the periphery, threatening to overshadow the joyous occasion. When the officiant uttered the words, "I now pronounce you husband and wife," a knot tightened in my chest. The reception hall buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses, but the atmosphere felt strained. As I navigated through congratulatory hugs and forced smiles, Nicole approached with a seemingly genuine smile. "Olivia, I'm so glad you could make it. It means a lot," she said, extending a hand for a handshake. I hesitated, then reluctantly shook her hand. "Congratulations, Nicole. I hope you and Carter have a happy life together." Her smile faltered for a moment, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. "Thank you, Olivia. I hope we can put the past behind us." I forced a smile, concealing the turmoil beneath the surface. "Yes, let's move forward." The reception continued, but I found solace in the shadows, observing the dance floor where Carter and Nicole shared their first dance as a married couple. As the night wore on, I sensed a growing unease, a brewing storm that threatened to disrupt the facade of celebration. In a secluded corner, Margaret approached, her eyes mirroring my inner turmoil. "Liv, are you okay? This whole thing feels off." I sighed, grateful for a confidant. "It does, Maggie, but for Carter's sake, I'm trying to put on a brave face." Margaret's gaze turned to the dance floor where Nicole and Carter twirled under the soft lights. I can't shake the feeling that history might repeat itself. As the night unfolded, the unsettling tension remained, leaving me to wonder if the chapters ahead would unfold with newfound happiness, or if the echoes of our past would continue to reverberate, threatening to shatter the fragile peace. The wedding's festive facade couldn't mask the growing tension that lingered in the air. As the night progressed, an undercurrent of unease pulsed beneath the surface. I sensed a storm brewing, and it was only a matter of time before it unleashed its fury. A hushed conversation with Margaret near the dessert table revealed shared apprehensions. "Liv, something's not right. Did you see the way Nicole looked at Carter during the dance? It was almost calculating." I nodded, a knot tightening in my stomach. "I noticed it too, Maggie. It's like history is repeating itself, and I fear the consequences might be just as devastating." Just then, Nicole approached, her demeanor composed but her eyes betraying a subtle tension. "Olivia, Margaret, enjoying the wedding?" Margaret's gaze held a defiant spark as she replied, "It's a lovely event, Nicole. Just hoping for a happier outcome than last time." Nicole's smile faltered for a split second, but she quickly regained composure. "Oh, Margaret, we're all adults now. Let bygones be bygones." The tension in the air thickened as the conversation shifted to safer topics, but the looming confrontation was inevitable. Later in the evening, as the guests reveled on the dance floor, I found myself in a secluded corner, contemplating the unfolding drama. That's when Margaret approached, her expression grave. "Liv, we can't ignore the past. We need to confront Nicole and find out her intentions. We owe it to Carter." Her words struck a chord, and we sought out Nicole amidst the celebration. As we approached, She sensed the gravity of the impending conversation. "Nicole, we need to talk," I said, my tone firm. She feigned innocence, her eyes widening. "Talk? About what?" Margaret, unyielding, stated, "About your intentions with Carter. We won't let history repeat itself." Nicole's mask slipped, and a glint of frustration flashed in her eyes. "You two are always so dramatic. Carter and I love each other. What's the problem?" Margaret shot back, "The problem is the wreckage you left behind in the past. We won't stand by and watch it happen again." As the confrontation escalated, Carter appeared, sensing the tension. "What's going on here?" I turned to him, determination in my voice. "Carter, we need to know Nicole's true intentions. We can't ignore the past." He hesitated, caught between loyalty and uncertainty. Nicole, sensing the gravity of the moment, interjected with a forced smile. "Carter, they're overreacting. Can't we enjoy our wedding day in peace?" The consequences of that confrontation rippled through the room, leaving an unsettled atmosphere in its wake. Little did we know that the aftermath would reveal the true colors of Nicole's intentions, unraveling the threads of the carefully woven facade that masked her ulterior motives. In the days that followed the wedding confrontation, the fallout was swift and unforgiving. The storm that had been brewing unleashed its torrent, leaving behind a landscape of shattered relationships and tarnished reputations. Word of the confrontation spread like wildfire, fueled by whispers and hushed conversations. Nicole's once impeccable reputation began to crumble as the truth of her past actions resurfaced. One evening, as I finished my shift at the clinic, Margaret called me, her voice carrying a mix of disbelief and vindication. "Liv, have you seen the news? Nicole's aunt and uncle disowned her. The truth about her past is out." The revelation sent shockwaves through our small community, and the repercussions were swift and merciless. Nicole's image-conscious parents, horrified by the tarnish on their family name, distanced themselves from their daughter. As the news spread, the once charismatic woman found herself isolated and scorned. The weight of her past actions, the broken relationships and manipulations, now bore down on her with a vengeance. In a chance encounter at the local coffee shop, Nicole approached, her eyes reflecting a mixture of regret and resentment. "Olivia, Margaret, I hope you're happy now. You've ruined my life." Margaret, unyielding, replied, "You ruined your own life, Nicole. We simply exposed the truth. Actions have consequences." Nicole, cornered and defensive, shot back, "You think this changes anything? People will forget, and I'll rebuild." But the once adoring public proved less forgiving. The community, fueled by a collective sense of betrayal, turned its back on Nicole. Friends distanced themselves, employers severed ties, and her once vibrant social life dwindled to solitude. As the days passed, Nicole's fall from grace was evident. She moved into an old apartment managed by a distant relative, her image-conscious parents providing the refuge but reluctant to repair the damage. In the quiet aftermath, Margaret and I found solace in the validation of our actions. Yet the repercussions of the confrontation lingered, a stark reminder of the fragility of reputation and the enduring impact of past deeds. Little did we know that this chapter, marked by a reputation in ruins, was only the beginning of a new narrative, one that would test the strength of bonds, challenge the resilience of characters, and ultimately reshape the course of our intertwined lives. In the wake of the tumultuous events that unfolded, a somber air hung over our lives. The fallout from Nicole's exposed past echoed through the community, leaving us to grapple with the aftermath and seek a path forward. Carter, caught in the crossfire, faced the challenging task of reconciling his feelings for Nicole with the undeniable truth of her actions. One evening, he approached me with a heavy heart. "Liv, I don't know how to make sense of all this. Nicole's past, the disownment, it's a lot to process." I met his gaze with empathy. "Carter, you deserve honesty and happiness. It's okay to question things and take the time you need to figure it all out." Margaret, ever the voice of reason, joined our conversation. Carter, we care about you, but you can't ignore the red flags. Trust your instincts. As the community grappled with the aftermath, I found myself reflecting on the resilience of relationships. Margaret and I, bonded by shared experiences and a commitment to truth, leaned on each other for support. One day, Margaret shared her thoughts on the evolving narrative. Liv, we expose the truth, not out of vengeance, but to protect those we care about. It's a step toward healing, not just for us, but for Carter too. The clinic became a sanctuary, a place where I could immerse myself in the comforting routine of caring for animals. Amidst the barks and meows, I found solace and a sense of purpose. In the midst of the aftermath, a chance encounter with Carter offered a glimpse into his evolving perspective. Liv, I've been thinking a lot. Maybe we needed this wake-up call. Maybe it's time to focus on what truly matters. I nodded, acknowledging the potential for growth in the face of adversity. Sometimes, the hardest moments propel us toward a better understanding of ourselves and our relationships. As the community began to heal, an unexpected silver lining emerged. The shared experience brought people together, reinforcing the strength of genuine connections over the allure of superficial images. In the final scenes of this chapter, Margaret and I found ourselves sitting by the window of our favorite cafe, sipping coffee as the sun set on the horizon. Liv, it's not about the chaos Nicole caused. It's about how we faced it together and emerged stronger, Margaret remarked, a resilient smile playing on her lips. As the curtains fell on this turbulent narrative, the characters faced the uncertain future with newfound resilience, understanding that moving forward meant embracing the lessons of the past and navigating the intricate tapestry of life's ever-evolving chapters.